Bom dia, Portugal!
Bom dia, Portugal!
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bom dia, alegria, Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. Rapidly hydrating this morning after a fantastic session of the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club last night. Keep your voice down, Carl. Some of us are a little bit hungover this morning over this way. Mrs. M, I wonder what should we make of this? It's not exactly the hardest Scooby-Doo mystery, this one. The Don Simon Sangria bottle, empty. And that's just what you go looking for later on in the evening. That wasn't the main event. We wouldn't be, well, maybe we will try that out one evening on the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. But that apparently is the world's number one sangria. La sangria numero uno de la monde. Wow. Fortunately, I'm looking around the desk here. There's some interesting relics of a good evening. Fortunately, this bottle is, I would have been very upset if Mrs. Emma tucked into my Obrigada Carlitos special edition of Beirão from Filomena there. So fortunately, she didn't. Last night, if you like something a little bit different, we were trying wines, if you remember, with funny names, interesting, unusual names from many regions. So everybody had something different last night, and I think there were 6 households on the screen. Do join us on the first Monday of every month. I tried this. You may have heard of the winemaker Luís Pato. This is one of his daughters who's made this unfiltered espumante from the Bairrada district of Portugal. Unfiltered espumante. It kind of tasted a bit homebrewy, not clear, crisp and clean like some espumantes I've had, but very nice nonetheless. And Fizz does the biz. Sparkling wine from Oeste do Bairro in the Anadia district there, or Anadia area of Portugal, Bairrada. Hopefully we'll be going there soon. A Brut Natura from a blend of different indigenous white grape varieties. It is an authentic expression of, does that say? Oh, Bical, Cercial, and Maria Gomes there. I think either the grapes and their fermentation affected my wine, or that is, that is really tiny print on that label there. But very nice, 11.5%. And a very, very interesting fizz. Do love a bit of fizz, and it was great to see you, Frank, especially. We haven't seen Frank for a little while at the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. So good to see Francisco Tagliatelle, as he was calling himself last night. To come today, we've got Bruce Hawker from Open Media and the Portugal Resident, of course, just back from the USA, where he's been doing a Portugal roadshow, basically promoting Portugal over there in the United States. We'll find out how he got on over there, see what the interest level is like currently among American people. And we have, talking of American folk, we have João de Norte. Did you see him opening the show this morning? This, I hope, the first of many from the Good Morning Portugal community. Here he is.
Bom dia, Portugal!
I did ask him, and he's come up trumping there with a 913-590-303 WhatsApp connection. You can send those to me. I would be grateful if you did.
Bom dia, Portugal!
Now, the more daring, the better, right? That's superb. I did ask John to bellow that greeting that he sends us every morning. And thank you so much to everybody who makes this part of their morning routine. I'm so grateful to you that you start the day the Gumper way here on the Good Morning Portugal show. So thank you very much indeed for that. And I did say, John, any chance of a video of you bellowing from your rooftops? He did that right there. And maybe I'm thinking, okay, we've got Toddy's Tonic as well. Yeah, talking about people capturing their images around the country. Toddy has really picked up and run with the idea of Toddy's Tonic on tour around I don't know where that is. I mean, she says, we got lost again here in Portugal. And there she is, Toddy with her tonic there. And there's another one. I think that might be Eddie Sarah. If you recognize any of these, let me know. But I think we're going to have to immortalize this little journey, which is Toddy's Tonic, popping up all over the country while Tom and Toddy do their tour of Portugal. This looks like Eddie Sarah to me. And there's another one there, certainly capturing some beautiful scenery with the handcrafted Toddy's Tonic in the foreground there, bottoms up. And not to be left out, Tom of the Tom and Toddy partnership is sending his tonic at the end of the day as well. Nice one. And he called that a dad joke yesterday. I mean, he's getting the cut of our jib, isn't he, here on the Good Morning Portugal show. So there's Toddy's tonic and there's Tom's tonic right there. So I think we can expect more of those as they tour the country, north and south. Some to come from the Algarve, where Bruce Hawker will be joining us from this morning, and some up north. Viana de Castelo, I know they're going up there and they may well pop in. They'll hear him call from the rooftops maybe with his special Bom dia,
Portugal!
Just listen out for João de Norte up there in the north, and just keep your ears open, and you'll hear him at about 8 in the morning, just bellowing that from the rooftops, and you'll know you're in his neighbourhood. So great night last night, and I shouldn't be shouting so much. I think Mrs. M is. She was the last man standing in this household last night, and I think she had a great one of those late night boozy conversations. I think with the Austins, also legends over there in Alviagra. So if you want to find out a little bit more about several more wines that we've never tasted on the Good Morning Portugal show, I think Porto Seixo was a revisit last night. And if you are a fan of the Porto Seixo, I found out yesterday when I was shopping for my wine that Porto Seixo, you know, the wine that you can get all over the world, sometimes at Trader Joe's as well, with the iconic Lisbon tram on the cover, the 28 tram there. They do a fizz as well now. Vidigal Wines, product of Portugal there, a Brut that they're doing, the Porto Seixo fizz that will be going around the world as well. So good job, Porto Seixo, flying the flag for Portuguese wines all around the country. Talking of Portuguese wines as well, and drifting into other products that some of the winemakers make, I think I'm going to do a little featurette on the Malhadinha brand this morning that you won't see in the supermarkets, and try something Portuguese. I'm going to try their olive oil this morning. Isn't this some lovely branding? The theme of the wine club last night was funny names, unusual names, and they tick the box. Well, they make a lovely cardboard box here, and they tick the box of funny, unusual names. Malhadinha means spotty cow, I believe, like a Frisian cow, black and white spotty cow. That is a Malhadinha, something for your Portuguese vocabulary. And talking of Portuguese vocabulary, something I forgot to mention yesterday morning, and we will say a few hellos in just a moment. We've got T-Ducks out and about, but fantastic content as ever from T-Duck. James is seeing some VIPs in Lisbon. We might get a photograph, and you'll see who I'm talking about maybe this morning. So James not with us in person this morning, but sending his love, and of course an abrazo. And Coach Turner's here as well, talking about quick twitch, I believe, as well this morning. But something I forgot to mention yesterday when I was talking to James was, how about starting one of these in your neighborhood? And it's a Portuguese club. First rule of Portuguese club: só falamos português. We only speak Portuguese. Now, the idea I think here is that the people who learn Portuguese best and quickest are the ones who immerse themselves in the culture and the language. No question about that. Kids going into school, people in the workplace, us lot who can separate ourselves from the culture to some extent, who don't have to immerse as much as other people might, tend to delay the process a little bit. So how about this? We immerse ourselves voluntarily in a local cafe. Cafe bar on a Monday evening when the place isn't too busy. They might be grateful of some extra business. A group of a Portuguese club, expats, foreigners, immigrants who say, look, we'd love to come to your place maybe around, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening on a Monday night when you might not be open, or when it's very quiet in your establishment. and we will only be speaking Portuguese. And maybe it's like a swear box system. If you do speak your native language, you put a little bit of a payment in a charity box, which gets given to a local charity. Second rule, buy something to drink or eat from the establishment in which you're holding the event. And third rule, of course, have fun and make new friends. But the first rule of Portuguese Club, we only speak Portuguese. Who's going to be the first to start one of those here in Portugal? Do let me know. Excuse me. Oh, my word. Yes, a heavy night last night. Voice is going a little bit. Bruce Hawker joining us soon, I believe, from Open Media. He's a busy man. He'll be joining us any time from about 8:45 to about 9:30, where, of course, we'll have João de Norte joining us. Bom dia, Portugal! Morning to you, John. Let's find out how Coach Turner has responded to your request to learn more about quick twitch muscles. And I will return to all of this should we be usurped. If we have a quick incoming message or two from Bruce Hawker, we'll return to all of this chat, don't worry. Good morning, Coach, says ahead of Coach Turner. Good morning, Coach. The only thing that stops me from exercising is the fear, not the spear, the fear of spilling my drink. Very good. Bom dia, meus amigos. Como estás? Mostly training and coaching this afternoon, says the coach. But meeting the new member of the Turner family this morning. Oh, how lovely. After coffee, of course. Do send our best wishes from this community, if you will, Coach T. God Squad tip of the day then. In addition to fast twitch muscles, the central nervous system is critical to be able to move quickly. It is why particular movement patterns are practiced over and over. The repetition develops the neural pathways. And this shows the wisdom of James's comment about practicing falling over, right? The repetition develops the neural pathways to send signals rapidly to the muscles. So to maintain fast twitch muscles as we age requires practice of particular movements. Who doesn't like a particular movement first thing in the morning? This is a bit different from high intensity interval training, though that can be part of it. Sprint training combines both elements and works most of the body. Boxing training can also work. Oh yeah, what a great idea. Old Fight Club. Yes, remember we were talking about that, weren't we, with Chinese Terry? So that would work. Cycling too, though that's mostly the legs. The important part is the speed of movement. So exercise such as walking or rowing, while excellent, will not help maintain your fast twitch capacity. There you go. And a deep thought that we missed yesterday, this from G.K. Chesterton, who wrote around 80 books, several hundred poems, some 200 short stories, 4,000 essays, mostly newspaper columns. Oh, I'm in good company there. And several plays. G.K. Chesterton, who said the purpose of compulsory education is to deprive the common people of their common sense. Well, that seems to be working in some quarters, doesn't it? Although I'm sure he would have said that a long time ago. João de Norte with a Bom dia, Portugal. We'll see him at around 9:30. But now, gracing your screen is Bruce Hawker. Let's give him a nice big round of applause. Good morning to you, Bruce.
Good morning, Carl. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. A bit jet lagged, but
so I understand. Yes, where you been?
So we're just back from the USA for our first road show of the year. So it was a bit of a slog. We started off in Austin, Texas on last Saturday, not this Saturday, but the Saturday before. Had one of our events there for a couple of hundred people in Texas with 13 Portuguese companies with us. And then we all sort of uprooted and moved on to Atlanta, Georgia for another event on Wednesday. And then uprooted again for another event in Boston on Saturday, and then flew home on Sunday.
No wonder you're a bit tired and jet lagged then. That sounds like a grueling showbiz type schedule there, Bruce.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't realize putting these events together. It's almost like each and every one of them is like organizing a wedding, having been involved in a few weddings, because it's a couple of hundred people, loads of different moving parts. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of hard work. But it really, really went well. I mean, the interest in Portugal in the US is just getting stronger and stronger.
Is it? That's what I want to find out from you. You know, what are people saying over there? So in terms of it being like a wedding, without the drinking and the eating and perhaps the wedding night festivities, let's put it like that.
Actually, we actually gave them Portuguese. We sourced Portuguese wine in each city, so everybody got
excellent
wine. We laid on canapes and cheese and all sorts of stuff for them in the hotels.
So so just like a wedding.
really thrilled actually because it didn't cost them anything. We had over 1,500 people registered to attend the events, of which just over 500 actually showed up, which is normal. We normally get about 30 to 40% showing up, which meant that they were completely full. And I spoke to loads of these Americans who are, they're either people who are at the beginning of their journey, sort of toying with the idea of moving. A lot of them, obviously, because of political reasons, not very happy with what's going on in the US. As actually, but probably just as bad. You probably got all the Portuguese leaving here for similar reasons.
Yes, but we just don't know it so much here, do we? It's hidden better.
Yeah, so everybody here can go to the States, and all the Americans can come here. It's going to be
just thinking, so exchange programs rather than migration, perhaps. Until things blow over a little bit. Yeah,
maybe. But no, it was really good, and we're back in June. We're doing actually doing Toronto as well. We're doing New York, Toronto, and Chicago in June. And then it's actually, I was interviewed by Portugal's National Press Office, Lusa, in Boston on Saturday.
Oh, you really? Wow.
Yeah. So that will be all over the Portuguese press today. It's already starting to appear. So, and then we're back in California in September. We're doing San Francisco, LA, and Seattle.
Wow. So their angle on that is, why are so many Americans wanting to move to Portugal, presumably? Yeah.
Also, I think part of the angle that the journalist took when she interviewed me was the loser correspondent from LA, who's interviewed me a couple of times in the past, and she was curious to know, how the changes to the Mais Habitação program, for example, the dropping of AL and the changes to the golden visa and all this, how has that affected the interest of US buyers coming here? And the fact is, it doesn't really make any difference. I asked lots of people while I was there what were their main reasons for wanting to come to Portugal, and taxation is not even in their
fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, right. It's so interesting.
They know they're going to pay a bit more if they're pensioners and they're on a high income pension. They know they're now going to pay a bit more tax. But then the cost of living in Portugal on average is around 50% of the cost of living in the USA.
Yeah.
And then you've got your health insurance. So your health insurance here per year is roughly what you pay per month in the USA.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's not going to stop them coming. It's a huge market, and what we did this time, testing 3 completely different cities. A lot of people said to me, Bruce, why are you doing Austin, Texas? Why Atlanta, Georgia, and why Boston? Mm-hmm. And we just looked at the demographics and spoke to some people here in property and other things, and people are coming from all over the USA. It's only a hop across the pond. It's I flew back from Boston on Sunday morning. It was 5.5 hours to London. It's nothing. Mm-hmm. And they don't think any more of popping across to Lisbon from Boston or New York, or now to Faro from
this is changing, isn't it, as well, of course.
From May, it's not a lot of difference to someone flying over from the UK. Okay, they don't have low cost airlines. It's going to cost them a bit more.
Yeah,
but no, it's a huge market, and the tourism is going to. There was an article came out on Expresso just on Sunday, I think, on Saturday, I think it came out in this week's Expresso about the massive growth in reservations from American tourists this year. Easter is looking to be the biggest Easter on record, and it's right? And it's the growth of the American tourists that's partially, I wouldn't say obviously far less important than the UK market, but it's the biggest growth market, that's for sure.
Very interesting indeed. And still, though, they represent a tiny part of the inward-coming population, right? Still at sort of number 20 in the league tables of
yes.
population moving towards.
Yeah. But if you look in terms of growth, it's certainly the fastest growing. And we had over 1.5 million US tourists last year as well. Up from just a few 100,000. So in say, I don't know, we go back to sort of 2017, 2018. It's grown exponentially.
Right. So that's the interesting thing, is in the growth, isn't it, rather than the volume at the moment. Yes. But that volume's going to come, isn't it, by the sound of it, with your continued work over there?
It certainly seems to be the case. Yeah.
João de Norte saying, spot on, Bruce. We pay here annually almost exactly what we were paying monthly. I mean, that's staggering, isn't it? And I've been on webinars, but I've had to reiterate that so people understand it, because it sounds too good to be true. It's like that is per month, not per year. Really?
Yeah.
What? That's incredible.
Yeah. Actually, when I was interviewed on Saturday, I had João Pinheiro with me for the interview. He's the son of the founder of Medal, the insurance brokers who work with AFPOP. João was the journalist was firing some questions at him, and exactly that. He said his desk literally at the show in the exhibition room there's a constant line of people lining up to talk to him. He comes over with one of his colleagues, and he needs to have 3 or 4 people with him. He said he's absolutely snowed under.
Incredible. So there you go. That's the road show, and you're going to be doing another one when?
Next one is June 15th, New York, June 19th, which is actually a federal holiday in the US. It's Juneteenth Day. That's going to be in Chicago, and then the 22nd in Toronto.
Wow!
That's all booked up and all ready to go. So.
Yes, incredible. USA still hasn't broken the top 20 immigrant countries as well. João de Norte keeping a close eye on this. Very interesting. But the growth, exponential growth there, as Bruce was saying. And Douglas Hughes from our rival paper here, Bruce, he's a columnist in the Portugal News. Comments suggested that my points in the Portugal News were bull. Yeah, we're not surprised. But here, Bruce is saying exact same thing as I pointed out. You read the wrong paper, mate. The biggest difference is I don't think this trend is great for Portuguese people. Well, that's an interesting point, isn't it? And this will segue us nicely into a political discussion, because I know you haven't got long to be with us this morning, but I think you're going to say a thing or two about the upcoming election, which is, of course, this Sunday.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, because it's the first time I'm ever going to be able to vote in my life, because I left. I'm a Portuguese citizen for the last couple of years, and I left the UK too young. I was 11 when I left the UK, so I've never been able, and I still can't vote in UK elections. I couldn't vote in the Brexit election. So this is my first actual vote I will ever cast on Sunday, together with my wife. So,
I think you should do a cosplay. I think you should dress up in it with maybe some sort of Georgian wig, and take a quill with you, and make a really big thing of it.
Video it, okay.
Yeah. Obviously, you don't give away you're not allowed in the booth, I think, with a camera, but that will be quite the event for you then this Sunday. Momentous.
I'm looking forward to it. And it's interesting. I mean, there's an update on the Portugal Resident website posted yesterday by our journalist Natasha Dodd, and she's put together a really good really summary of the current situation. And Marcelo cast his vote yesterday. And he's basically urging the population to get out and vote. Obviously, we always have massive abstention in Portugal, and something like you say here, 60% of the Portuguese in one of the latest surveys don't trust Parliament at all. So how many people are actually going to vote? That's but the pundits, the surveys are going now towards the AD alliance, so the centre right alliance with PSD. But we can see what happened last time. PSD got more votes than PS managed to pull it out of the bag, didn't they? So we never know what. But I think the big news still is Chega, the hard right Chega. If they get the 20% that the surveys are saying that they could, so we've got undecided voters are between 17 and 20% of the population at the moment.
Okay.
And a lot of those people could sway towards Chega if they vote.
If they vote, that's the thing, isn't it? Is if they vote.
Yeah, and then we're very likely going to see the AD alliance needing an agreement with Chega, which they've said they won't do, but we all know that politicians lie.
We definitely won't do that. And then come the morning after the election, well, we might, in order for us to deliver our aims and intentions as we put to you before the election, we might have to form some sort of coalition. Now, this can be a little bit of a worry, and it does connect, I think, with Douglas's comments here. The difference, the trend is. I don't think the trend is great for Portuguese people. So if we could tackle these two things, if inward migration could be very good for Portuguese people, I would say, if handled in the right way. Would you agree?
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, where would the UK be without inward migration?
Yeah.
And most of these this inward migration that's, for example, that's coming from the US, from the UK, from Northern European countries, it's good for the country. These people aren't buying the same kind of properties that your average Portuguese person wants to buy. The only reason we've got a lack of housing is because the government don't allow enough houses to be built.
Yes.
You know, I mentioned the last time I was on here that 15 years ago there were 80,000 houses a year being built in Portugal. Now it's around 15,000.
Yeah.
So why is property so expensive? Why haven't we got any houses? Because they don't build enough of the bloody things. It's quite simple.
That's right, and the immigrant can be a very convenient political device to be blamed. You sort of lay that rumor in the atmosphere, and you know, and understandably, the native people think, yes, the foreigners coming over here, and the politicians then just sort of step back into the shadows and say, yeah, that's absolutely right, rather than building any more houses or taking it on constructively, because there isn't going to be any stopping this, is there? Let's face it. So we should do it in the right way rather than just stall and not do anything about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there you go. And just before you go, Shager, this was some Shager, and I haven't got anything in terms of political balance here. This is the only campaigning I saw last weekend, and it might put Shager into a little bit of a perspective for people. This is them campaigning in my town last Sunday. Not a jackboot in sight, just a van playing disco music, waving at all the foreigners in San Martino, funnily enough.
They want to privatise the SNS, the National Health, as you know. They're anti-multiculturalism. I mean, it's a bit like, if we look at the UK, it's a bit like UKIP, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it is.
What they were. It's it's popularist. It's a lot of people like it.
And I think as well, it's when people don't feel heard, they tend to lean to the extreme. We also see this pattern, don't we, across Europe and around the world, when people don't feel represented by the perhaps conceited and bloated and arrogant standing parties. They tend to go to these parties that make wild claims of the kind you were just saying there, sort of laying out their manifesto in a way. However, people don't need to worry too much, do they, Bruce? They possibly could pick up some marginal votes, but that will be diluted in the mix, won't it, here in Portuguese?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they get the 20%, obviously, I think that's going to end up being very good for the AD alliance.
Yeah.
Well, good and bad, because obviously they're going to have to give them a bit more weight in Parliament. But yeah. Honestly, my general opinion is, in the past, between the sort of the PS and the PSD, there hasn't been much difference, is there? It doesn't really. It's not like sort of Labour and Conservative in the UK or the Democrats and Republicans in the US. They're normally so close together. I personally think that the PS have moved a bit more to the left, and the AD alliance is moving a bit more to the right. That's my perspective on it.
Yes. Well, it'll be an interesting weekend. And I think it's a Sunday, which is unusual. If you're from the US or UK, we don't usually have elections on a Sunday. And the polls close quite early, don't they? So when will people know the results? When will that start filtering in, Bruce? Natasha's really busy, isn't she, on Sunday?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's probably going to start coming out Sunday night. I'm actually off to the UK again. I'm traveling on Thursday. We come back on Saturday, and then we'll be straight in there on Sunday morning casting our vote.
Excellent. Well, maybe send us a picture of you in your historical dress as a sort of voting reenactment from centuries gone by, and enjoy that moment. And thank you for being with us this morning. And we'll check in again. It'd be lovely to hear what's going on in the States, what's going on in the UK as far as the perception of Portugal goes. So thank you very much for being here this morning.
All the best.
All right, there goes Bruce from Open Media and the Portugal Resident. Nice update there. And looks like the Trump trucks. Yeah, I guess that's a comparison you could make. People having a good time. I have 3 friends in that Algarve waiting 3, 6, and 8 years for basic building permits and occupation certificates. Yes, that is a big problem. And the last 15 years. Okay, some interesting political commentary then. Doug, if you give us the link for the article that you wrote, the date and title of your article you mentioned, give that to me, send it to me, and I'll make sure everybody gets that. You say inward migration has turned the UK into a horrible, overcrowded island. The last 15 years have really puddled the UK. I think the point being is that I don't think you can deny that inward migration is either necessary or is going to be happening anyway. It's how you manage it. And that's where the politicians seem to fail. They don't want to manage this. It's very unpopular, isn't it? I guess the thoughtful management of migration, and I don't think we can just blame. If we keep just blaming politicians for these sorts of things, we kind of get the politicians we deserve, right? So I think everyone has to play a part in this, and that's why I think it's very important for us as a group of foreigners, immigrants, expats, whatever you want to call yourselves, and I don't care what you want to call yourselves. I don't get my panties in a bunch anymore about the word expat. I think it's a big distraction. The important thing is how we represent ourselves and what sort of part we play in this formula. And I think we need to make it clear to the welcoming and native Portuguese who might think we're a problem to say, well, hold on a minute, we might be, but shall we talk about that, rather than letting the same old boring political, whatever they are, tropes or formulas play out, where the politicians are very happy for the immigrants to take the blame for things that they're not doing very well themselves. Okay, a little fear-mongering, perhaps, I hear there. And I am trying, says Pete, to be dead quiet at the moment, as the Spanish imperial eagles nesting just outside our living room are doing a brilliant job. I'll keep my voice down as well, Pete, of solving my bird problem in the roof. Okay, so let's keep nice and quiet, because we've got the Spanish eagle, Spanish imperial eagle, a foreigner coming over to Portugal and taking all the birds. Oh, that's what I think that's what Pete wants them to do. And we've got pictures here of the magnificent, the majestic Spanish imperial eagle. That's the view then from Pete's living room. And you can see there beyond Diane, I think that is, just above her head there in the trees, the eagle, and there's the close-up. How wonderful is that, Pete? Thank you very much for sharing those pickies. Superb. And we've got pickies in from Miranda de Córdoba this morning. A beautiful morning. Look at that from the rooftops of Miranda de Córdoba. How about a Bom Dia Portugal from you as well? Michael, can we have one of these from you?
Bom dia, Portugal!
Yes, please. Send that in on 913-590-303. Let's get back to where we were in the chat ahead of João de Norte, him bellowing there from the rooftops. He'll be joining us at 9:30. He might have something to say about the fear-mongering we were just talking about in the chat there. Actually, let's just finish that off. If it can ever be finished, let's face it. UKIP never wished to stop immigration, just allow suitable numbers to arrive in a measured way. And whenever I hear dismissive and trite belittling of someone else's point of view, I begin to think perhaps I need to look more closely at what they blithely dismiss. Yes, well said. Thank you for that, João de Norte. Illegal immigration into the UK has killed the country. I hear you, William, and of course it can't do that on its own, can it? There have to be people, if that's true, and who am I to doubt you? But if that's true, there must be a political failure, and you could argue a societal failure as well. I mean, are the people in the UK just hapless victims of how that's happened, or have they stood by and watched such a thing happen for reasons we perhaps might not have the time to discuss right here and right now, but we could have that discussion in a different forum, maybe in the evening, as we sip on wine and discuss it one evening. But great to see you here, William. Good to see you this morning. I think it's a very interesting and useful debate. It's a debate that should be had rather than perhaps shorthanded into the thing that João de Norte talks of there, dismissive or sort of, quick, sharp put downs of things. I don't think that will just keep things going the way they are, right? But whatever the situation in the UK, the US, I think we can gladly say we're very happy to be here in Portugal. However, the very same thing can happen here in Portugal in years to come if we don't have these intelligent conversations and we leave it to the politicians. I'm sure that's true. Politicians divide and conquer. Yes, there you go. That's a short, sharp comment that I'm very happy to put on the screen. However, again, I qualify that with they only do that if they're allowed to. We can't claim to be victims, can we? Do we want to be victims of that? I see that as a standard operating procedure of politics, but it can only happen if people allow it. All right, how's everyone doing in the chat? Let's go back to where we started this morning before we had Bruce join us. Thank you very much to T-Duck for the GK Chesterton Deep Thought. And we've another from John C. Maxwell this morning. Deep Thought, you will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. And let me reiterate that I'm very grateful to anyone who joins us in the morning. If this is part of your daily routine, thank you very much. Maxwell, John C. Maxwell, was born in Garden City, Michigan in 1947 and was an evangelical Christian. He followed his father into the ministry. We've got 3 dad jokes as well from T-Duck. Thank you very much from those. And we will perhaps need to lighten the atmosphere with those later on this morning. João de Norte, picking up on the fast twitch muscles, somewhat unique with fast twitch muscles are that they become least used as we age. Our caveman ancestors weren't expected to get old enough to discover this, maybe. Yes, they lived on their nerves and their quick twitching a little more than we did, perhaps. Or maybe ours is more emotional and cerebral twitching now these days as we respond to these sorts of comments we see about politics and so on. You know, if we see politics as the modern metaphor of the woolly mammoth, maybe that's what stimulates our reactions and our primal instincts. I don't know. We become less interested in and less able to fight or flight, less jumping and running as we get more mature. In a way, you'd hope for that, wouldn't you? You'd hope that that was the outcome for the human being, that you could have a peaceful and easier old age and let the youngsters get on with that sort of stuff. That is part of the problem, isn't it, with the age of the individual, of course, is we are expected to be everything throughout the ages on our own, when in fact maybe some of the youngsters could do the heavy lifting of protecting the community, while some of the oldies just sit there and muse upon things like we're doing this morning. Bon dia from Sarah Yeoman, good morning to you. And without use, muscles of either type atrophy and wither, and the mental ones as well. So I'm glad we're having a bit of a brain workout this morning with the political discussion. Bon dia all, probably an emotional workout as well. It's often how these things go. Bon dia all from Jackie the Humble Crafter. And Bajandi is in. That wine is made from the grapes in the fields next to my house. That's amazing. Unfiltered. Why is she calling it that, Andy? It's a Blanc de Blanc 3B. Unfiltered espumante, made in a very traditional way, I think. It lacked that crispness and cleanness that you might expect, but it still was a fizz doing the biz last night. Bon dia from a beautiful morning here in Miranda de Corvo. And here's the picture one more time just to demonstrate that. Absolutely beautiful blue sky. No filtering on there. That is, well, the only filter there is the Portuguese sky, I would say, as it captures God's good light all over Miranda de Corvo and central Portugal. And a little bit of that coming this way as well. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Michael. Lots of love to you and Karen this morning. Now, let's go back to the chat, see what's going on. I've also got to try something Portuguese. So I'm going to try some of this biological. Now, a lot of people are coming over to Portugal are asking the question, particularly Americans, where can I get biological, organic from? And there are a growing number of suppliers, providers who are picking up on that request. Not specific. I mean, they're doing it anyway, but it's good news for anyone who is concerned about buying organic. I think generally speaking, there are less chemicals and pesticides, and the growing methods are less intensive than they are in the United States. So it's a good start anyway. I should be trying some organic olive oil from Malhadinha, not because it's bio or sustainable or autosufficient, but because I think it's blooming tasty. I'm going to find out in just a moment, but not until we've read through the rest of your comments this morning. Bon dia from Suze, who's organizing a meetup. So I'll give you more details of that because it's on our homepage as well. And I think Suze is going to supply me with a few more details, but we've got a new meetup hosted by Suze to announce this morning as well. Thank you, Pete, for the pictures of the Imperial Eagle. And bon dia to you, Peda. Good morning. Great to see you here in Wales, sending a bon dia to us here in Portugal. And Luisa Pato, Quinta do Ribeirinho. That's her, is it, who makes this, Andy? Is that right? And that's her. Sounds like a pencil, doesn't it? 3B. Bon dia from Suze then, who's hosting the new meetup. Where are your details for that, Suze? Oh, yeah, mark your calendars, says Suze. March the 23rd, meetup in Midóis in central Portugal, starting at 1 p.m. at the O Figo Preto, the Black Fig. Is that right? The Black Fig restaurant, reservations recommended. If you send me a link for that via WhatsApp, 913-590-303, Do that, Suze, and I'll put any. I think you've already sent me some pictures, haven't you, of that restaurant? So let me have a look back over that. Oh my goodness, a little bit of the hangover making its presence felt this morning after the wine club last night. And I meant to bring some water into the studio, left it in the kitchen. Thank you very much for that link then, Doug, to your article. Do some people move to Portugal, or do they migrate away for something else, or is it a bit of both? So I'm popping that into the chat now, and I might resurrect that over on the Portugal Club too there, Doug, and have a little bit of a conversation, because a lot of people who are talking this morning here on this timeline might like to continue that conversation over at the Portugal Club. All the W's, gmpvip.com. But there's that meetup. March the 23rd, then, a couple of weeks' time in Midóis in central Portugal, starting at 1 in the afternoon. That sounds lovely. And I know that you're a big fan, having discovered that restaurant over there of Figo Preto. Sounds like a nice place to go. And I'll see what I can do to bring a few more pictures that you sent me, Suze, from the WhatsApp 913-590-303. From João de Norte to Pete, we need a good bellowing. Bom dia, Portugal, from your back porch. What say you? I think he's waiting for the eagle to clear all the bird life, the pests from his roof, and then he might do it. So yes, please send me those. They're fantastic. João has set the benchmark very high, I think, with his bellow in Ponte De Lima. And you upset the sheep doing that, apparently, there as well. I think the neighbor's sheeps were a bit put out by my Bom dia, Portugal shouting yesterday. And I know the plural of sheep, he says, is also sheep. But I just like being contrary-wise as a self-respecting and self-identifying Tweedledum or Tweedledee always should. Very good. Trying a trip up to Aveiro again this morning. What happened last time? I see. Did the weather put you off? Hopefully the sun will stay out today. Well, it looks like a classic Aveiro day. If the mist and the rain stay away, you'll have a lovely afternoon on the canals up there. Yeah, by Randy agreeing. It looks like it should be a great day. Hope you and Karen have a super time in Aveiro. And I'm sure if you need any tips in the city, Andy will have them for you. And let's have a look. Spot on, Bruce. Yeah, some good feedback. Well, Bruce was on. Bruce Hawker from Open Media there, and the Portugal Resident, owner of the Portugal Resident newspaper. And have we finished that little discussion, that little outbreak of a discussion there that we were having about immigration? I wonder. I don't know. We shall see. And William, thank you for that. 29 and only 3 likes. What's going on? I don't know how that works. I still don't. UK is broken. It's a sad place filled with every nasty emotion under the sun. But as Portugal is my dream, it's the one thing that keeps me going. Well, I'm so sad to hear that of my native UK. I did have the same feeling that might happen, and that hastened my plans a long time ago, I have to say. You know, countries come and go, don't they? That's the truth as well. Empires rise and fall, and nothing changes them, I think, apart from the people within them. And they need the right sort of inspiration and leadership to do that. And clearly it can't be left to politicians, can it? Let's face it. I'm going to become Portu-Welsh soon. Oh, I've not heard that classification, that hybrid before. And perhaps those elders in the caveman troop who lost their ability to run and jump were... Oh, you're not talking about the cavemen of the man cave. You're talking about... prehistoric human life here. They lost their ability to run and jump, and they were the useful sacrifice to the predator who caught them up first as the others scuttled away. Yes, I think we can be thankful that we don't live quite like that anymore. Canals in Portugal, what? Are they navigable? I don't think you can roll into Aveiro on the canal system. Can you? I don't think you can you, by Randy? Waterways in Portugal, can you navigate? Ancient Mariner, he used to be part of the community here, didn't he? And he was sailing through Europe. How far did he get in Portugal? That's funny you should ask that. I'm not aware of... I mean, I do see canals, but I don't see waterways in the sense that you've got them in London and the Norfolk Broads and those sorts of things in the UK. So I'll let others answer that because I don't know the answer. The youngsters are too busy working 2 jobs to pay taxes to support us old folks. It's true, isn't it? And we need to change that. I think we're still trying to work an old model, Erica, are we not? with this. And yes, I think we need some fundamental changes to make things work for us human beings rather than just tweaking with the existing system. Oh, and sent you GMP meetup screenshot. Thank you for that, Suze. I'll have a little look for that in just a moment. João de Norte will be joining us, I think a little bit early, which I'm grateful for. So thank you, John. And but I care less as we're now in sunny Portugal, says William there. Let me just have a quick look, see if I can find what Suze sent me over on 913-590-303, which is the place to send images. Cheers. Thank you very much for this. Figo Preto, just going to have a quick look at that with the contact details then. If you want to join Suze for the new Central Portugal meetup. Jess is in with a bon dia todos this morning. Thank you for being here. Oh, and I'm going to try my olive oil just quickly as well there, João de Norte, if you want to sip a little bit more on your coffee. This is the venue then of the upcoming new Central Portugal meetup hosted by Suze Figo Preto, and we've got the address here for you and the booking. I think if you need to book direct with the restaurant on 939-091-591 or Casa do Pisão at outlook.com, and the address is Rua das Moitas, and that is 7 Midóis, Portugal. So number 7 of Rua das Moitas in Midóis. It sounds like it's a little place. And the monthly meetup at Figo Preto on March the 23rd, 1 p.m. Coffee, drinks, or lunch. Reservations recommended. Hope to see you there. Lovely food, ambiance, and people. So Sue's already a big fan and hoping to see you there on the 23rd. Let's try a quick one of these then, and we'll head over to Ponte De Lima and have a chat with John. No doubt about his upcoming European tour. Now, it's been a while, hasn't it, since I tried something Portuguese? So much so that I've got so many videos here, and I can't find my try something Portuguese video. I know it's here somewhere, and I nearly gave it a parabéns, the cockerel salute this morning. Where are you? Try something Portuguese. It may be lost forever. So anyway, we'll go without. Oh no, here it is. Here we go. Yes, it's been far too long. Let's try something Portuguese this morning, and that will be this from Malhadinha, this olive oil, which is 100% bio-certified, sustainable, self-sufficient. It is the most beautiful place. Actually, let me give you a little bit of a backstory here. You'll like this. John, you'll love this as well. This is the Alentejo in all its beautiful glory. I'm going to let them do a little bit of their own commentary on this fabulous place that I'm going to talk about. Their olive oil. They do many things there, notably wine, and you can stay there. They've got Lusitana horses, they've got cattle, they've got sheep, they've got bees, they've got everything that you might imagine in the bucolic idyll of the Alentejo. Let me just hand over to them for a moment as you find out more about them. There is a video on the homepage which doesn't seem to want to play, so I'm going to just refresh that for you and see if we can come to. Well, I'll show you this video, but maybe we can't this morning. I don't know. It was playing last night for the wine club. Let me just scroll through it on the screen. Alentejo, there you go. Somebody on a Lusitano horse there. Ordinarily, this wonderful venue has a beautiful Alentejo video showing in the front of the screen there on the homepage. Those are the wines. I was lucky enough to taste some of these at the Storytellers Palace a little while ago. They are delightful. They truly are. Right through to the late harvest aguardente type dessert wine that we had as well. It was absolutely, there you go. There's the late harvest Malhadinha as a dessert wine there. Absolutely beautiful. Not an aguardente, as I wrongly said just then. What a beautiful range. You are not likely to see this in the shops. They go through a few specialist distributors, and I saw them at the Estado Líquido just outside of here we go. This is the video that I want to play for you.
Malhadinha is our dream, is our vision.
We feel that we have the obligation of sharing. I'm doing this to leave a legacy.
At age 14, I was invited to come here. There was no running water, sometimes no electricity. I knew that probably sometime I could do something for those people, for the region, and for the country.
This place has some special characteristics. The soils are very poor. They can be improved with many actions that we made in order to attract biodiversity, which is what we have been doing, so we can have a balanced agriculture, which is completely the philosophy.
Regenerative agriculture is our path. Cover cropping, planting local vegetables that will apport the nitrogen naturally to the soils and give natural food to the plants and help us to have a rich soil, more alive.
One of our biggest objectives is to be autosufficient for the restaurant in everything that we produce. We are totally aligned with our chefs because he's aware of what we can have here available, fresh, that we don't have to bring from other places, and using as much as we can what we produce here. So together we want to bring back the gardens to this place here, to the House of Arts and Crafts. So there will be the main gardens and the main fruit trees to be used by our chefs in the restaurant.
Animals, it would be impossible if we don't have the bees, if we don't have the ladybirds, if we don't have all the organisms.
We need biodiversity. We need the insects to fight against the diseases. That's the only weapons we have for the balance of what we produce here.
Letting all these ecosystems work together, the wines will be, for sure, much more complex.
To have like this huge property that we want to share in a special and delicate way with everyone that visits us, we cannot do it by ourselves. So the same way that we care so much about our guests, we have to care a lot about our team. They are like a part of a big family. We have to give them conditions to develop their families, to develop their lives as well. So we are worried all the time about them. And I think that's also a key of the success, is about taking care of people. And we take care of our family.
We take so much care about everything we do in this land. We want to leave it better than we found it for the next generation. And I think it's what the world, more than ever, the world needs to think about.
It's about a way of living, a philosophy of life, a way of educating our kids.
It's important because Malhadinho was thought not for Rita, for me, for my brother. It was thought for the future, for the next generation.
Sometimes people don't realize that they have gold in their hands. So if we can, in such a poor region, developing and bringing biodiversity, I guess it is possible to do it anywhere in the world. It's all about balance, I think.
Oh my goodness, that isn't that beautiful? It's all about balance. Let's try some of their olive oil now. This is the beautiful packaging that you see here. Little spotty cow there. That's the Malhadinho. That's their lovely olive oil, biological, sustainable, self-sufficient. I'm going to try a little bit. Now, I was told a long time ago, the best way to try olive oil is pour a little bit on the back of your hand and lick it off your hand. Bring it to sort of almost like body temperature immediately. And that'll bring out some of the aromas in the way that you would enjoy a wine, just to bring it to life, warm it up a little bit. So beautiful colors, I don't know, I poured it beneath the camera line there, but it is a lovely golden color, and it's as though the lovely images and that lovely place you saw there is encapsulated in that little droplet of olive oil from that wonderful place. So let's have a taste now. Delicate and light. And with that beautiful backstory there, I'm just feeling in love with Maliadinha there and that whole way of life and that way of balance that they're talking about there. Absolutely superb. That's delicious. I can't wait to have more of that. And a little bit on an avocado salad last night. Had an avocado salad from avocados given to us by some friends from their garden. So how lovely. And a little bit salty too, says João. No, the backs of my hands are not sweaty, John. Not yet, anyway. Let's bring him onto the screen so we can take responsibility for that comment. João, bom dia, Portugal. How are you, John? Do you not think that's a good way to taste olive oil? We've got you muted there, John, and maybe just as well this morning.
Very good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, very well. An interesting show this morning. I think you'll agree.
Yeah, as always.
Ahead of the election this coming Sunday. And ahead of you got a little bit of a European tour going on. Is that what you want to tell us about this morning?
Oh, there's a lot of things on the plate, I guess. So coming up Tuesday next, we will be taking off on our little European jaunt. So we take the bullet train or the fast train from Vigo. So actually go up to go down. So go to Vigo, which then goes through Santiago de Compostela, which is kind of nice. And then we loop down and go all the way down to Madrid. All of that in 3 hours. Spend several days in Madrid. Never been there yet.
Wow.
So we'll have a look about. Maybe some flamenco, not flamingos, but
bit of both, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know. When we were watching that video last night that I just played, Gary Austin said, "I've got a confession to make. I was wondering what peacock tasted like when I saw that in the video, and maybe you'll find out what flamingo tastes like in Spain if that's allowed over there. But flamenco, I think, right? Do you intend to watch or take part?
Yeah, well, no, I'm more of a watcher. So
okay, so you're going to be leaving your castanets in Portugal then, by the sound.
Yeah, but I understand what Seville is more of the place for flamenco. But anyway, we'll enjoy Madrid. Then we'll take the fast train up to Barcelona, spend several days there. The train travel in Spain's a little bit odd from the northern perspective because I can't just go across, from the north of Portugal to, let's say, Barcelona, because there's no trains that go straight across the top of. Now I know there's the Pyrenees, but perhaps there should be one that goes along the base of the Pyrenees, along the north. Between, let's say, Burgos. Well, you could have. What is it, Santander, and what's the other big city up there? Just skipping my mind at the moment.
Oh, is it Bilbao?
What's that?
Bilbao?
Yeah, Bilbao. Yeah, so Bilbao to Burgos over to Barcelona. There perhaps should be a more direct line, but there's not. And then we'll go to the Riviera of France. We'll stay in Nice, which is more affordable than, let's say, Monaco, but next to it. And then we'll rent a car there, actually. So we've gone trains and then car. Actually, a plane from Barcelona to Nice, because there's no direct train between Barcelona and Nice, at least not without having to change 4 times. And then we'll drive from there to Lake Como, so that'll take us through Genoa, Milan. We'll actually go through the mountains, but up to Como, spend several days there.
What a trip!
Yeah, and then down and over to Venice, spend several days there. And then down to Rome, spend several days there. I heard there's a few fountains there or something. And then we'll take the plane back to Porto.
How amazing. So a couple of things then. Vigo, turns out for people who live in the north of Portugal, Vigo's a little bit of a secret weapon, isn't it, for travel? You can fly from Vigo as much as you could go to Porto.
Oh, yeah.
Vigo, it's a really good little travel hack, isn't it?
Down in the south, you have Lisbon and Faro. But up north, we have Porto and we have Vigo, which both have international airports, but also have great train connections too.
And this car that you're going to be hiring when you get to the south of France, are you going to be hiring a muscle car, like a Maserati or a Ferrari, so you can go up and down, drive around in Monaco looking good?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, our car will not be one of the ones that people look at.
Right.
But I do fancy parking somewhere and sitting with a coffee and watching the glitterati go by.
Yeah,
it sounds like a little bit of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like that still happens there in the south of France. That's where all the posers seem to go, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing. It sounds, however, like you've had a little bit of a challenge with this. You know, on the one hand, isn't it fantastic that now you're in Europe, you can travel across Europe and go to all these wonderful places that you catalogue there. But the train travel is not quite as convenient as you might have originally expected. Am I picking up on that?
Yeah, you have to be a little bit creative with it because, like let's say just going north to up into Paris. So it's not necessarily straight from Madrid to Paris, right? You go Madrid to Barcelona and Marseille and then to Paris. So that's because you have the Pyrenees in the way, but. So it's not necessarily as direct as you might think. You have to be a little bit creative and making connections and transfers and that sort of thing.
It just sounds absolutely wonderful. I'm hoping we'll get the occasional postcard from you, albeit a digital one, via WhatsApp.
Sure.
Sounds absolutely wonderful. And is there a way? Are you using like a travel pass on the train, or is that a little bit complicated? How that?
No,
works?
actually, I was just going to mention that. So I did look at getting the rail.
Interrail.
Yeah, Interrail. Yeah. So as a resident, it's Euro Rail or Interrail. It's really the same thing, but one is if you're not a resident. But really, that's not quite as convenient as one might assume. Simply because Interrail is great if your itinerary is entirely flexible. Like I don't know how long I'm going to stay in Barcelona. I might stay there a day, I might stay there a month, who knows? So if you don't have a set itinerary, then that's probably more your cup of tea because you can get on the train and worry about settling with the conductor, whatever. But if you actually are, booking accommodations and making travel, and booking a flight here, and so that I'm going to be in Madrid from this date to this date. And then so if you know your itinerary, it's actually better just to buy your tickets directly from, Renfe, RENFE, Renfe in Spain, or directly from the Italian rail network, Italia, and because it's less expensive just to buy it directly. So then, so Interrail doesn't necessarily save you money. What it does is buy you flexibility.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. So let's have a little bit of a scratch of the surface of this, because I've just gone to CP. That's the Comboios de Portugal. That is the Portuguese equivalent of the Spanish and Italian rail services that you just mentioned. Of course, this is the most important to us living in Portugal.
Yeah, that's a great site. Good app on your iPhone too.
I agree with you. I had this conversation with Jerry over at Expats Portugal recently. He wasn't too keen on it for how he likes to use the railways, but I think it's pretty good. cp.pt is what you need to download. You can find out availability of trains. I'm not sure about booking so much. I think what throws people here in Portugal is if you get on a small regional train and there's no ticket office at your local station, you get on the train and, as you say, you settle up with the conductor. If you go to Aveiro, for example, and you get on a train there, they take a dim view of that. If there's a ticket office, you should buy at the ticket office. If there isn't, then you pay on the train. And you shouldn't get the two mixed up, from judging by some of the looks and some of the things that have been said by conductors to me in the past. But anyway, this is Interrail. The global pass. Imagine a pass to travel freely throughout Europe with no travel limits. So here we go. It does look a little bit complicated, but let's see if we can decode it, because it is good value, I think, if it works for you in the way that you said, John. With the Interrail Global Pass, you can travel in 33 European countries for 4, 5, or 7 days within 1 month, 10 or 15 days within 2 months, 15 days in a row, 22 days in a row, 1, 2, or 3 months in a row. What? Consult the conditions of use. So there's a link for doing that. And free Interrail, 18 years old, Discover EU. Not sure what that is. And there are promotions on those. And then there's the Interrail, as well as the Global Pass, there's the Interrail One Country Pass. With the Interrail One Country Pass, you can travel in the chosen country for 3, 4, 5, 6, or 8 days within a month. And again, there's a link for conditions of use. And I will put the link to that so people can find out more. But you're right. If you've got your own quite set itinerary, you probably want to be booking direct, don't you, on the particular journeys you want.
Exactly. And, Interrail is not quite so complicated as it sounds, when you read it out like that. But generally speaking, you're purchasing a package of time. So within a 3-week period, how much are you going to be traveling? And so it's like, okay, right. Within 3 weeks, I'll be here, I'll be bopping around maybe every other day. So, perhaps I need 15 days worth of travel. So you don't have to use it consecutively. It's just 15 days within a 3-week, within, whatever, a month period, or you're able to use that. So, you could make 4 or 5 transfers all in one day. It doesn't matter. That's just all, it's all part of, that's just the one of the days. So.
Okay. All right. So there's a link for you if you want to investigate that. Going from rail to canal, back to what we were talking about with Jackie, the humble crafter, who is Welshugul, I think she is, or Welshugese. The best navigable river canal system inland waterway is the Douro, with a length of 211 kilometers. That wouldn't be a bad little trip, would it, John? A boat trip under your own.
That's our tick list, because we have done, the little, few hour long thing, but I think everybody needs to book, one of those 3-day journeys where you go up and you stay at a quinta and do a wine tasting and then come back or something. So,
and you've done that, have you?
No, that's on our tick list to do.
Oh,
so definitely want to do that. My brother, speaking of more trips and things, so what I was describing before was March. But my brother, my oldest brother, he's 14 years older than I. He and his wife are coming in May. And so we'll spend a week for 2 weeks. We'll spend a week here in Ponte De Lima, enjoying the wonderful spring weather and the flowers and everything, things to see up here. But then we'll spend a week doing other things in Portugal. So
that sounds lovely.
We thought maybe we would go down and take a look at the Douro and do something like that. Some special little treat for them. Yeah. And then they continue on to Scotland and Ireland.
Superb. What a lovely trip for them. And I'm sure you're going to show them a fantastic time in Ponte De Lima. Talking of which, then, notable birthday, I think, for PDL. Was it a couple of days ago?
Yeah. So was it yesterday? Was the 899th birthday. So obviously that means next year will be the 900th birthday. And that will be quite the celebration. So they're already raising money towards that. They're already making big plans. So mark your calendars for early March of next year, 2025.
There's going to be party time in Ponte De Lima, and they know how to party there. It's such a lovely backdrop for anything, but I think especially for its 900th birthday, probably one of the oldest cities in Portugal. How is life there at the moment, John? How long have you been there now?
I've been here just over 1 year, continuous. We actually bought our place 2 years ago, but we moved here in 1st of February of 23. So the garden's in. I just planted a whole row of hydrangeas and waiting for the wisteria or Galicia.
Galicia, isn't it?
Galicia.
No, what are they called? Yeah, the wisterias. Glycinia.
Yeah, waiting for that to bloom again. And the bougainvillea. We have fragrant camellia and azaleas and all these. So I'm enjoying my garden.
Yeah, superb. And life in Ponte De Lima is good, is it? Are you noticing any more people coming there, settling there? I mean, I think you were part of the first wave, weren't you? You and Bob and Viv are notable people to have adopted Ponte De Lima as your home. Are you seeing more of that trend?
Well, there is quite a bit here. Not nearly like it would be down in the Algarve. I mean, you can't help but run into somebody's bum there. But up here, it's quite, I would say comfortably both. You're not going to have people speaking English to you right away. They will most retailers and restaurateurs and things will speak Portuguese, obviously, and just a very, very rudimentary English, where that's not the case pretty much anywhere south of the north here. So in the Minho region, it's much more traditional, original Portuguese, where Portugal started. And so it's less common to hear English, but there definitely are a number of expats. There's probably in our circle of our social circles, I don't know, probably about 30 to 40 or so of people spread all around from here to Arcos de Valdevez to Viana do Castelo, up north to Caminha, and Valença. So it's this whole Minho region, if you will.
Very good. Now, you seem to be quite quick to respond to Bruce's comments and input earlier on, and about the American interest that's going on. Do you keep a close eye on that? Because you were saying, whilst there's this exponential interest, as Bruce put it, and these roadshows seem to be going really well in the United States, American people do barely scratch the top 20, right, in terms of inward migration. Do you keep an eye on these trends?
Well, just a little bit. I dislike. I should say I dislike the casual use of statistics to exacerbate or overemphasize something that's really not that significant. If you think about it, I mean, yes, growth-wise, we went from 9,000 immigrants to 10,000 over the last couple of years, so 10% increase roughly. But that's 10,000 in 10 million, so so that's not very significant. And a lot of the hype, America's great for hype, and a lot of the hype started from a few articles written 3 years ago. I think it was in LA. We're talking about the Americans going to Portugal, and how and Americans always have a greatly inflated opinion of themselves and their influence in this world.
Right.
Which I, speaking as an American.
Right.
And so naturally they're going to lap up saying, "Oh wow, look, we have such a big influence," or or we're going to have such a negative influence, or all this kind of thing. So it's like, just get off your horse and just be a normal person.
That's brilliant, down to earth advice there. Anything else you want to say? Because I think what goes with that, and you might have been a little bit peeved by how this is going sometimes in the public conversation. But whenever I hear dismissive and belittling of someone else's point of view, I begin to think perhaps I need to look more closely at what they blithely dismiss. Do you think there's more of that going on at the moment as well?
Well, there's always that going on, and it's tiresome. Because one side calls somebody else a communist, and someone else calls somebody else a fascist, and
yes.
And it's just it gets trite and boring, if you ask me. It's predictable. So you can obviously see someone's point of view or their political leanings just by whoever they're criticizing.
Yes.
And or dismissing and not listening to. So, I'd quite like to, have a debate or not a debate, just have a discussion. It's like, well, why does somebody think that illegal immigration is a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah.
What's the point of view? Well, what's the impact of this or that? Why don't we have a discussion as opposed to saying, oh, they're xenophobic, or oh, they hate all immigrants, or and you lose the topic of discussion of legality or illegality, and is there any warrant to that? Then have a discussion about national borders or no borders, or is that not a good thing, or is that an archaic artifact from centuries ago? Well, let's have a discussion about that. But it's like, oh, they're this, oh, they're that.
Why do you think? And I share this with you, I really do. And I think this is where I was trying to steer the conversation as host here and as sort of moderator of what goes on when Bruce was talking. And I think it's like what is it? The medium is the message. So if you are given a little chat box to put a comment in, understandably, people might go to putting something quite concise and pithy and quick in their response. But as well as that, there doesn't seem to be the space and time for people to have the sort of conversations you're talking about. What do you think is going on in society with regard to that? Why are people so kind of, well, it's triggering, isn't it? It's basically, why is it we get so triggered so quickly? And why do you think there is this absence of that quality time of conversation?
I don't have the pithy answers necessarily, but I think that I suspect that a lot of it comes down to when someone's point of view or worldview or way of living comes under discussion or threat or change. Of course, they're resistant to that, and so in recent decades, you've had an ascendancy of much more left of center points of view and worldviews and moral views. And when there's a little bit of pushback to it, now they've been in the power base, and so now they become threatened. That say, and want to suppress. Anybody that has been or is in a position of power tries to suppress speech or thought that threatens their point of view. And so, when you're in the enlightened camp, you then become more you want to be more tolerant of the ones with dissenting views, but that becomes a circle, because then the dissenting views over time maybe become the ascendant views and become the dominant views, and then they then want to repress the way that the people that used to be in power, what they think and what they believe. And my point of view is, when neither right nor left, but whomever is trying to suppress speech and thought of whoever else, those are the ones in the wrong. Those are the ones that I don't want to be part of. So it doesn't matter whether you're right or left, but if you're the person saying what you can or cannot say, or what you can or cannot think, or what you can or shouldn't believe, or that this, then you're now the person in the bad camp. So everybody's like, well, I want to be on the right side of things. It's like, well, then quit trying to be so pushy of your right side of things, because that's you on the wrong side of things.
I like that a great deal. I've not thought of it quite like that, and I do appreciate your you take a broader view than me, I think, on this. I'm sort of right there in this moment. How can we sort this out? But clearly, you have a historical perspective on this. I think as a great reader and researcher of human history, and probably we can roll into that human behavior, right?
Well, we had that discussion several months back about the
fourth turning. Yes, indeed. Yeah, that model of history. Yeah. And
I was having this discussion with Owen in the car, taking him to Vienna on Monday, about is there? I was just posing the question of is it always a given that that the pendulum swings, right? So if you see things having gone more one direction or the other, let's say left or let's say right, is it always a given that at some point it's going to come back the other way? And and what triggers that, or how does that start? The actual physics of a pendulum is it reaches, an apex of its entropy, of its energy, and it runs out. The mass or the weight of that thing, the energy that was behind whatever movement originally reaches a point where it no longer can resist the mass that was there originally.
Yeah.
And then that provides the energy behind it going the other direction. And so is there such a thing, in humans, in human endeavor and human interactions? Is there a weight, so to speak, of things socially, whether it's, farmer protests or, rise of, people saying, hey, wait a second, Shagan might have a point on something, is what's behind that? They're clearly, tired of something that's going on, that's been going on. And so the result of it, or the consequence of that, where it's shifting, where it comes back around, well, you might not agree with this particular point of view or this particular platform point of this particular party or whatever, but just take it in the grand picture of things. What's behind that change?
Yeah.
They're objecting to something,
Yes.
And what is it?
Well, and I think we don't listen at our peril, to dismiss people as, for example, deplorables or whatever happens in this world, a political world, is not listening to people. And no one likes it today. None of us like that. None of us like to be not listened to.
Yeah.
And it's very dangerous. I would agree with you that I think it's very dangerous not to hear people. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with them or not, but not listening to them or putting them down for their views, even before you've heard them, is very dangerous. And that seems to be where we're at.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's my point. Is that I don't know. Some may be dismissive of being a centrist or trying to be more of a centrist. And I guess I'm more center right, but I'm trying to be consistent with my worldview and points of view while all these things have been going on, and I don't think I've changed that much since I was in my 20s. Not that I it's just because earlier than that I didn't have an opinion about anything. It's just whatever my dad said. But since the first time I had the ability to vote, I don't think my opinions have changed that much, at least my viewpoints on things, just how I observe what's going on around me. And so there's been a lot of change and discussion and over on both sides over the decades. So the last 40 years, let's say, for myself, and it's hard to stay centrist, because people will say, well, then you're just being lukewarm, but you're not committing to this whatever. But that's part of my philosophy, is like, look, if you're passionate about this particular ideology, that puts me off right there. It's like, I don't want to have any part of somebody's passionate ideology, because by definition, that means that you think that you're right and everybody else is wrong. And there's been many instances throughout history of people with those passionate ideals engaging in whatever atrocities because they think that the end justifies the means. So it doesn't matter, because I know I'm right, therefore I can do whatever to make you comply.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
I think you and me both perhaps prefer the tyranny of moderation and balance. Somewhere in the middle there. Or to put it another way, an observation on this. Thank you for your comments, Peder and T-Duck here. Those who want you to forget history are trying to repeat it. That's an interesting view on it.
Yeah.
I spent my life my life living and working in Scandinavia, says Peder, and mainland Europe, I'm heartbroken and frustrated at being stuck on Brexit Alcatraz, which sounds Moorish, doesn't it? So I will arrive in Portugal a Brexit refugee, but happy. A lot of people are describing themselves as political refugees coming to Portugal. It's interesting. Andy, you're missing a political discussion while you've been out sorting the builders. And Frank Nibley, interesting perspectives, João. Thanks for bringing a balanced view on the political landscape. Perhaps a lot of the pushback on the extreme right in the US has to do with a very real threat to democracy, hard to engage in civil discourse with those ideologies. And I think you nailed it there beautifully, John. You know, this, when people are, I mean, people don't like it in religion, do they? When people are evangelical in religion, it tends to rub people up the wrong way straight away. And I think it's the same in politics, isn't it? If you're evangelically, ideologically certain, that is quite an unnerving energy to be on the receiving end of, isn't it? It gives you no choice, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that you can have a committed belief in something without needing to be strident about it or repressive about it or dismissive about it. Like, you know, I might consider myself to be an evangelical Christian, but it doesn't mean I'm going to beat you over the head of it and say I can't be friends or have a discussion about things. I think it all has to do with having an attitude that is, you know, committed to fostering friendships and being authentic and being balanced, like you said. And you can strongly believe in something and have a faith in something without wanting to destroy anyone that disagrees with you. So
there's a thing.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's worth remembering that from time to time, isn't it? I guess because it does seem to be seem to be a febrile and fervent atmosphere around some of these things. And how are you seeing what in your year here as a foreigner in Portugal? What are you making of the political system here? What are your observations about what might be happening this coming Sunday, for example, that Bruce referred to? The president is appealing to citizens to use their right to vote. What are your observations on watching the Portuguese at play politically?
I'm quite excited about it, honestly. I was having this discussion with Owen on the drive to the train station. Yeah. So right now, as we speak in the US, we are having what we call a primary season. Yeah. And Owen confessed that he didn't know what that meant. You know, what do you mean primaries? What is that? You know, because in the U.S. The candidate that is put up for election in the general federal elections is not decided by the party. So, like in the UK, you typically will have somebody that's like, right, this person is the person that's going to be our candidate for the Liberal Party or for the Labour Party or for the Liberal Democrats or for the Tories or whatever. That's not something where they're running off having a media campaign amongst themselves, just saying, "Hey, choose me, and I'll be the representative of Labour Party." No, Labour gets together behind closed doors and they say, "Right, it's going to be this guy." But in the U.S., it's all, "Hey, look what I can do, and what a terrible person this one is," and it's all, you know, money and advertising and influence of donors and what do you call the
lobbyists?
The lobbyists and stuff. Before there's even an election, and so in the UK and I think in most other European countries, and like, you know, here in Portugal, you know, there is a person that is the candidate running for, you know, whatever. There's 12 parties here, and so there wasn't some, you know, runoff election running around saying, you know, this is going to be what the PS group is going to be. It's like they themselves choose, and then you're having an election amongst. You know, what you're looking at, whatever their policy points are and their platform of what it is that they believe in and what they want to do. which, I think makes much more sense than, just being a popularity contest and a bunch of advertising out there, and which is all a distraction. I'd rather just look, I don't really care who you are and what color, your eyes are, or your personality and that sort of thing. What I want to know is what is your platform and what are the points that you're trying to accomplish. And in the US, it's much, much more a matter of, well, I dislike this person's the way they speak in public, or I don't like their jokes about this. And it's like, who cares? It's like, I want to know what the person's policies are going to be, and the group that people that they have around them, and what they're trying to accomplish in this world, in this nation. So I doubt you could say one single thing, or I challenge you to say one single thing about any one of the political candidates here in Portugal that would be this, their personality is this, or their, the size of their nose is that. I bet you don't know anything about their individual personalities, nor should you. What you know is that they're the spokesperson for these points, and that's all you should care about.
Thank you, John. That's great. I'm not your only fan here this morning. Oh, I'll have to rewind and watch again. I love João de Norte's thoughts, as I do Paul Correa's. Hint, hint. I think he wants Paul Correa back. And yeah, the competition. How mean are your tweets? That's no way to figure out politics, is it? And interestingly, even after all you said about how the Portuguese system might be somewhat better than where we've come from, US or UK, still more than 60% of Portuguese tend not to trust Parliament. Isn't it fascinating, the state of politics basically around the world and politicians? And let's hope. I think part of what you're saying is like their job is really to be public servants and to make things run better. And we seem to be so far away from that, generally speaking, don't we? All around the world. But let's see what happens in Portugal on Sunday.
I'm not saying that the Portugal system is better. Probably not. But I'm not saying any one system is better than the other. But I think they all have their Achilles heels. And in the U.S., I think my belief really is that our biggest problem is it's a two-party system. There's just this or that. There's no, there's people's, beliefs or whatever settle all over. But there should be some viable, 3, 5, 7 parties that you could choose from, and have it to be some sort of a coalition of things. I don't know if you ever watched Netflix, but there's a series. It's no longer current, but there was a series called Borgen, which was all about Danish politics, and it sounds boring, but it was actually very, very good. And it's all.
You're not selling it yet. You're not selling it yet. The special about Danish politics, but well, that nuance is in there, is it?
Well, the nuance of having to compromise, or with different political parties and different points of view that you might disagree with because any one person, any one of us, we have multiple opinions, right? And I might agree with a lot of what you believe, but I also might disagree with a lot of what you believe, and that's just human nature, right? Is that I'm not going to agree 100% with everything you ever say. Same thing like if you're in a marriage, and if you expect that we will always 100% agree, well, then you're delusional. But well, there are definitely things that we do agree on, and so that's where the nitty gritty and the fun is with what, like with the Danish politics. So it's like,
and that's where we can make where the common ground. I mean, I guess that you've nailed it. Perhaps as we conclude today, if we keep focusing on what's different about people and how we're divided and what's wrong with other people, etc., and the judgments, that's going to be a harder atmosphere, a less productive atmosphere, a less happy society than if we have a look at what unites us and that we can work on together, right? As a summary there.
Yeah. And we certainly don't have to be, high pontificating about, all that stuff, unity and kumbaya and stuff. But it's just common sense. So that's my point of view.
Common sense. I've heard of that. I've heard it's quite good. Right, and just to finish then with the dad jokes, because as George Orwell said, and I think this is how to understand the value of dad jokes. Every joke, said George Orwell, is a tiny revolution. So let's take the dad
That's
jokes.
why they're trying to shut up the comedians.
Yes, exactly. They came for the comedians. Yeah, absolutely. This is the sort of thing a politician might say. Just because I talk down to you doesn't mean I'm condescending. And I'll explain what that word means to some of you later. The sun is going to burn out in 4 billion years, and yet we all just sit here and act like everything is fine. Panic! Right, okay. And a minute varies depending on which side of the bathroom door you're on.
Very true.
That is relativity. So science, politics, religion.
See?
We've touched on all of it this morning. Thank you, John.
Excellent.
I thought you were going to add something there. A last word to you then, my friend.
Oh no, I was nothing profound. Just enjoying spring here. Spring always comes early in Portugal, so it really is the end of February. So spring truly is the beginning of March 1. That's spring. March, April, May. That's spring. June, July, August. That's summer. So none of this solstice and that sort of thing.
Traditional seasonal values.
Yeah, traditional seasonal values. If the trees are turning green, it's spring, and the flowers are blooming.
Some of that common sense you're talking about, I think. There. Thanks, John. Great fun talking to you this morning, and very interesting too. Take care. Bye for now, and have a great European trip. Sounds wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao. Everybody. See you tomorrow. Or ask anything about Portugal Wednesday. See you then. Ciao.